Okay? Can everybody hear me okay? Yes? Okay, thank you. Well, I appreciate that introduction and the reception, and very happy to be here. Invited to talk to you all about the Chronic Wasting Disease Coalition that was formed last year. So, in my biography, what you didn't hear is that I'm an expert in chronic wasting disease, which I'm not. I'm just a white-tailed deer biologist that's been practicing for a long time. I'm working with a lot of deer hunters my whole career. So I'm not here to speak as an expert on chronic wasting disease. I'm just here to represent the coalition. I'm sure most everybody here has you're pretty familiar with it or somewhat familiar. So the high points basically would be, this is 100% fatal to everybody in the deer family, elk, white-tailed deer, mule deer, such as that. It spreads deer to deer, and unfortunately right now there's no known cures, management techniques, or anything such as that can reverse anything. Or if a property is contaminated, there's no way to clean it up right now that's known. So there are good resources here. I did include some links. The Mississippi Department of Wildlife and Fisheries really has a good webpage on chronic wasting disease there, as does the Alabama DNR. That's the outdooralabama.com. And then nationally, the CWD-info.org is a very good website. Believe it or not, it's the USGS. So anyway, little justification for the coalition being organized. Again, the disease is passed on animal to animal by prions. It's a malformed protein cell that can get into the deer neurological system. It takes 14 months for it to manifest to where anybody might even notice the deer has some real symptoms. Before it gets to that point, deer can go blind, or they have some other motor skill problems. They get run over by a car, killed by a coyote or a deer hunter before they actually succumb to the disease. So, like most deer diseases, you're just not going to see a lot of sick deer walking around in the woods. Something usually will happen to them before they get to that point. We're pretty lucky in Alabama. We just had our first positive, I think, 2 years ago. But Mississippi and Tennessee, Missouri, Arkansas, really struggling right now with what's going on there. So as a coalition, we felt, it's in our best interest to do everything possible to try to mitigate the spread first. There is a lot of ongoing research being done, and there was a bill passed in Washington last year called the Chronic Wasting Disease Research and Management Bill. That's going to be funded through USDA, up to $70 million a year, split between management and research. You can imagine, maybe you can't, but I mean, it's dealing with this from an agency standpoint is a tremendous drain on their manpower. It's a lot of cost involved, and that takes away from other programs. But if you think about it, if all their manpower is tied up with CWD surveillance and management, it takes away from other species and things that we all enjoy as well. So that's kind of how the coalition got created. The last bullet point there is, it's very, very clear to us that we just can't sit here and let the agencies try to fight this on their own. That's not going to be successful. It's going to take the agency effort, landowner effort, deer hunters, all of us. And so that was really the basis of the coalition being created. So sorry, we'll skip that slide. How about that? That slide basically we're just going to talk about what a BMP is. Really all you guys, you're probably familiar with water quality best management practices, logging BMPs, things like that. And that's why people in our industry, that's why it was just second nature to go this route. Might not be able to see this map very well, but again, this is a USGS website, and they keep it very current to where current, chronic wasting disease is broken out. Those gray areas are positive counties. And this area right here, you know, there's northwest Alabama, and that issue kind of spilled over from this big problem in southwest Tennessee and northeast Mississippi. Just from a historical standpoint, the disease actually was first documented in Colorado back in the 60s. And quite frankly, you know, until man kind of helped accelerate the spread of it, it probably never would have made its way down here. But this is the Alabama map up here, Lauderdale, Colbert County. They had one positive last year. That triggered their CWD action plan to go in place, intensify sampling and things such as that, which, as far as I know, all that sampling effort's all done by hunters, you know, deer hunters. It's not sharpshooters, those type of things. And that's why it's important for landowners and stakeholders, deer hunters, to understand what this is and be willing to help. But so anyway, we're very lucky right now. This is the only known CWD in the state of Alabama. All right, so again, we want to be part of the solution here. The coalition is made up right now from you know, large timber companies, management services, and then some of the largest conservation organizations in the United States. But right now, the coalition's footprint is about 23 million acres, and we're actively growing. Oh, dang, this thing got a hair trigger. Sorry. I just want to show you the members of the coalition as we stand today. You see the major players in the timber industry right up there, as well as the top, in my opinion, top conservation organizations in the southeast and United States, but certainly with Boone and Crockett and the National Deer Association being involved. But we also have the Wildlife Federation in Alabama and Georgia as well, Wildlife Mississippi. And then we have Legacy Wildlife Services. Larson McGowan's also joined this past year. All right, so we met, we just, as a group, we decided we needed to do this, and our outcome was to develop a set of best management practices. The good news for us was the Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies already did a draft of this in 2018, and they are the nation experts, chronic wasting disease, that participated on that team. So there's really a really good set of BMPs already out there. What our goal was to just take that draft and tweak it from a landowner's perspective. What would that look like? So I apologize if y'all can't read some of those words up there, but the first area of the BMPs is prevention of CWD, introduction and establishment, and there's several things on here. Live animal movement, carcass movement, again, that's a source of the prions that are so dangerous. But the common theme of this entire set of BMPs, you're going to constantly hear education, agency support, and that's really the takeaways. I do have some printed copies up here. If anybody's interested, you can take one where you might actually can read it. But then there's reproductive products of cervided origin, which is like scent, deer scent, mass, things like that. Unnatural concentration of cervids, and it's kind of low-hanging fruit there. So the next area of the BMP is about surveillance of chronic wasting disease, and this is where like this, our company alone, we have about 7,000 deer hunters that lease land from us. So, we give them a lot of information. When I started my career here, we were kind of shifting into quality deer management. So that's, a lot of education went through that process, and it's the same thing for us right here. So, since we have so many deer hunters that are customers of ours, and if they understand what this is and what the situation is and how they can help, they're all happy to help. I've never met one that said, we're not interested. So just from a sampling effort, so, Alabama has sampling stations throughout the state. They have a website that show locations. And you simply would take a head from a harvested deer, tag it with the information, and just drop it in the freezer. And then they're actually going to test that head. And then you'll know, it'll tell you, more than likely it's going to tell you it's a negative test. But, as many deer that we have in the state, to get a good sample size, they need thousands and thousands and thousands of deer heads in that sample. And they have a media group, and they do as much as they can to spread word and educate people about participating in sampling. But the landowners, we're just another layer of that, reinforcing that message. And like our company, we have a $1,000 incentive for customers in Alabama, Mississippi, for whoever can collect the most heads and turn them in. So, and we don't care where they come from. We have customers that, they might lease our land, they might lease your land. If they want to turn in a deer head from your property, it could be in the same club is what I'm saying. That's fine with us. It's just another sample. So we've been doing that for 3 years. And again, the state agencies really have good response plans, but they have to have engagement. They have to have deer hunter support and landowner support to get what they need from a sample size. And I'm just stressing the education and encouragement, customer education again there. So then management of CWD, this area is if our company, if we had property in Lauderdale County, well, we actually have our own chronic waste and disease action plan, because we have to decide what are we going to do. And of course, a big part of that is what we're going to do is meet with the state agency and say, hey, how can we help? We've been encouraging sampling, things like that. If you need more deer in your sample size, and you want us to talk to our customers to try to get them to shoot more deer. Sometimes the state will adjust the season and bag limits in these areas so they can, increase the sample size. And then when you are definitely in a contamination zone, one of the management strategies right now is, to try to actually reduce the deer population in that area, just to lessen the chance of deer-to-deer interaction and things like that to accelerate the spread of prion. Again, initial response to the first CWD detection should include, and we've stated all that out, and again, this really follows the Association of Fish and Wildlife Service BMPs that were done by the real experts. Managing the prevalence, and this could be reducing the deer herd if necessary, things like that. Allowing access if state agencies do need access to our land for whatever reason. If we feel it's justified, we're going to give them access. I guess the main message from the coalition members, or from a landowner standpoint, is we're not going to be a barrier to the agencies trying to fight this. We're going to be a conduit to a solution. Okay. Supporting activities. This addresses a lot of communication and education items we kind of talked about. Landowner policy, public policy and regulations. So like some of our government relations folks with the company and the other member companies of coalition, if they're meeting with lawmakers, they're going to talk about this. And I know for a fact that had a big impact. I'm not saying the coalition did, but I know talking about this to lawmakers got that bill passed last year in Washington, D.C., which was a bipartisan bill, by the way. And there's probably not a whole lot of those that got passed up there last year. And we're really lucky that this one did. And again, we're talking about up to $70 million a year. Now, and research on wild animals is very expensive, so it can eat up that money quickly, but that's certainly a step in the right direction. That was a big win. Okay, so I've said this several times here today. It's going to take everybody. It's going to take all of us working with the agencies, working with the deer hunters, the landowners willing to participate and get involved and get educated mainly. But I started really thinking about this the other day. And so I moved to Alabama in 1989. And some of y'all look like you might be as old as me, and you might remember what the deer herd looked like in '89. But when I moved here, it was great. Down in West Alabama, I mean, we had deer everywhere. We really had too many deer in a lot of places, but it allowed me to move in to the realm of quality deer management, and we tweaked the deer herd and improved the hunt quality, improved the health of the deer. And it had a fantastic resource, but Mother Nature just didn't create that deer herd that we had in 1989 on our own. That was all done from restocking and rebuilding, relocation efforts that started in, I guess, in the 50s, 60s, on into the 70s. That our company was had a big hand in that. Our first wildlife biologist, Ray Redmond, I've got 100 pictures of him trapping deer and turkeys and restocking efforts. There were harvest restrictions, obviously. You couldn't kill any does. They're trying to recover the deer population. So to me, it's a lot the same thing, a different issue. But you had to have landowner support. You had to have people willing to make personal sacrifices. Ultimately, you had to have deer hunters, willing to not kill does, let that population increase. So when I get here in 1989, and there's a deer behind every tree, and I'm trying to tell these guys, we got to kill some does. Well, they didn't want to, because that's how bought into this message they were when we were trying to recover the population. And I really see it the same way here. Ray Redmond, the agency guys back then, if you're working with deer, you're out there late at night, you're on weekends, 7 days a week, rain, sleet, whatever, to get this done. So there's a lot of personal sacrifice made and investment, like our company invested a lot of money in this back then as well, to generate this, to make sure we had a white-tailed deer resource. Not just for me when I showed up here in '89, but just that, so we had what we had, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm reaching the end of my career, and I'm kind of focused on what am I going to leave? What am I doing to make sure there's the future generation can enjoy the wild white-tailed deer resources that we all have here in Alabama. So I see this as the same thing. Personal sacrifice, there's an investment here, and education and things such as that. So I really think this is going to be the same situation. I'm a very optimistic person, so I'm very hopeful that 20 years from now, we still have the white-tailed deer resource in Alabama we have now. But that's kind of how I see it from my perspective as a biologist. So again, we're not trying to do everything here. We're just trying to do what we can do. And if we can all work together, I think we're going to be successful, because I'm an optimist. All right, thank you.